Welcome everybody, and thank you for taking a few minutes out with us to watch Momentum Talks. I'm Joshna Daya, founder and director of Your Business Momentum. Today we have Ros Loxton from Perform HR. Welcome, Ros.
Hello, how are you?
Great, thanks Ros, and thank you for joining us. So before we get started, I just want to give you a quick introduction to Ros. Ros has 15 years experience working as a HR generalist, as an in-house HR manager. During this time, she recognized her preference was helping to solve people's problems. So when the time was right, she actively sought out a consulting role. As the ER service director of Perform HR, Ros is passionate about solving ER pain points and empowering her clients to lead, grow and protect their organisation. Once again, thank you for joining us, Ros.
No problems.
The purpose of Momentum Talks is to share valuable content with business owners and to introduce specialists who can help overcome challenges in your business. So it's no secret that people are an integral part of our businesses, and therefore having access to good HR resources is a must. Ros is going to talk us through some of the different aspects of HR in the workplace and provide some guidance on where you can get some of the answers. So Ros, I've got some questions to fire away at you. Are you ready?
I hope so.
Okay, great. So the first question I have, Ros, is what might be a crazy or an amazing statistic relevant to HR that others might not know?
Well, in the news, we often see the really bad cases of unfair dismissals with lots of money being paid out and that sort of thing. I wanted to share with everyone that unfair dismissals aren't necessarily worst case scenario. So it's not the end of the world when a case comes through. I'm just going to share some statistics from January to March this year. So there were 3,583 applications submitted. However, only 172 of these actually made it to the commission hearing. So the rest were all solved before that. So they do a conciliation course and it was settled. Of the 172 that went to Fair Work, the actual commission, about 80% of them, which is about 140, were dismissed. So 29 were dismissed because it was found the dismissal was actually fair. And 111 were dismissed because the cases were actually found to be vexatious or the applicant failed to comply with what they were supposed to do. For example, some of them didn't even turn up. So at the end of the day, only 32 of those 3,583 cases went through the whole process and compensation was provided to the employee. So
Wow.
I guess, yeah, that's a big thing I think that businesses need to know, that sometimes unfair dismissals aren't the worst thing in the world.
Yeah, it's an important point, Ros, because I know, dealing with business owners every day, it can often be quite an area of fear. And, with business owners not really sure how to approach it, or if they're in that particular situation, not I guess not wanting to get there in the first place, but if they are there, what's some of the things that they need to be doing as business to work through that.
Exactly, yeah. And we did share some of that in our webinar that we did earlier this year, which was, I think, would be helpful for people.
Yes, yep. Okay, so Ros, what might be, I guess, the 2 or 3 major problems that you see arising for business owners when they recruit and manage people?
So being involved in consultancy, I actually get to see a lot of different businesses and often the same problems come up. So I do have a little bit of knowledge about this. So I guess one, with regards to recruitment, rushing that process can be an issue, and not hiring for culture, but hiring for convenience. So just rushing through the process and getting the first person that looks good on paper, rather than really thinking about it. Also, taking a no news is good news approach to employee feedback. So only talking about the negatives and letting people know when they've done something wrong, rather than actually also looking at telling them when they're doing a good job. In saying that though, another major issue I come across is where businesses have got themselves into a bind because they haven't done enough around managing performance. So there's usually 2 scenarios. It's either that they've got a fairly new employee, and they've decided they haven't worked out, but they haven't actually done anything about it until after that first 6 months. And then they're kind of stuck in that position of having to manage a whole performance improvement process rather than being able to be a little bit more lax with it within those first 6 months of employment. The other issue I sometimes find is employees who have been there for a very long time, and then suddenly it's been decided that they are not performing, and they haven't performed for the whole time they've been employed, but nobody's actually told them. So the performance conversation often comes as a big surprise to that employee, and of course they get defensive because they've been working the same way for so long.
Yes. Okay. Ros, it's certainly, I know being in my experience working with business owners where there tends to be very little structure to the performance review and development conversation. And like you said, sometimes when we start to put these things in place, it comes as a total surprise because it's just not been raised before, or if it has, it's been very informal with just very little structure to it. So Ros, would there be any particular tips that you might have around how business owners can create a bit of structure for this?
Around their performance improvement?
Yes.
So I guess looking at that whole thing I said, we don't want to leave feedback until an annual performance review. So you do want to be giving your employees feedback along the way, whether or not that is majorly structured or just, having those catch-ups, but booking them in at least, once a month or so, and letting people know, just letting them know things that they can provide support on, or the good feedback as well. There's nothing wrong with just having that annual review, but also ensuring that that people are aware of how they're going along that way. Nothing should come as a surprise at the annual review.
Sure. So what I'm hearing you say there, Ros, it's having more regular feedback conversations, and giving, the good feedback as well, because it's not just all about what needs to be improved in their performance, it's giving the good feedback as well. So when we do have, if it's a development review 12 months down the track, there's nothing that comes as a surprise.
Exactly, yeah. And the good feedback is also fostering your culture within the organisation. So if everyone's only hearing about the negatives, it doesn't foster good culture.
Sure, okay. So Ros, what would be, I guess, a couple of actions that business owners can be taking as well, just to help some of these issues that arise around HR?
I think I can touch on recruitment as well, that I've talked about before as being a pain point. So maybe consider a can-do, will-do, will-fit approach to recruitment. So the can-do is, does the candidate have the basic skills needed for the role, which is usually the easiest thing to work out because you just look at their resume and look at their qualifications. The will-do is, will the candidate do the job? So you need to assess their motivations, why they're applying for the job, and assess their values to ensure they fit with the company values. People are more likely to stay with a company when the values align. And the last one is the will fit, and this is about the culture. So you need to be really sure that the person's going to be able to fit in with your current culture, and that you don't think there's going to be any major clashes.
Okay. So Ros, would you, would you have a resource or something, or a valuable piece of content relevant to this that, you'd be able to share with some of our listeners off Momentum Talks?
So with regards to performance improvement, there's always a performance improvement plan that can be implemented. That's the best way to be looking at performance improvement, and having a really good record of what you're doing. We also I also want to say that when you because often people Google when they're looking at HR things, they Google the answers. When people are Googling, they need to make sure they're looking at reputable sites. There are some companies out there that try to look like they're Fair Work. So I have, some of our clients have been caught out having Googled seeing things that have actually ended up being other companies providing them some information on, they've been thinking they've been talking to Fair Work, but they're not actually talking to Fair Work. They're talking to an advisor or a lawyer, and then they need to pay some money. The Real Fair Work website, however, is a good resource, and it's got some really good templates for even for just basic contracts and basic letters that you might need within your employment, and just information as well.
Okay.
Companies may also look into at HRISs. There's a number of, so that's Human Resources Information Systems. I couldn't say which one is the best one because there's a heap of them, and they've all got their different levels of budgets they suit, and also levels of requirements. So some of them are quite basic but really helpful for just having all your information at your fingertips, but others can do all sorts of things like automating workflows and things like that.
Okay, beautiful. That's some pretty good tangible tips there in terms of resources, Ros. So it's probably a good time to talk a little bit about the services you provide and, you know, what you're known for.
So Perform HR is an outsourced HR company, and we work flexibly with our clients, so meeting what they need. Some clients we work with as their full HR department, so basically the whole function is outsourced to us. Others have their own HR, and we help with just some special projects or strategic top-up and things like that. And we also provide ad hoc support to some of our clients. So just a bit of a phone a friend. You know, sometimes you have a burning question that you don't know the answer to. Phone a friend and ask us. We also do like smaller projects such as recruitment and policy reviews, contract reviews, things like that.
Okay.
We have the full gamut of HR skills, and mine just happen to be ER related, so employee relations related.
Okay, beautiful. Ros, I know I've certainly been very grateful for the help that you've provided to our clients, so thank you again for that. So Ros, what's the best way to reach you if the listeners have any particular questions and would like to get in touch with you?
They can contact Perform HR by phone or by my email address. My email is Rosalind, ROSALIND, @performhr.com.au.
Beautiful. Thank you, Ros.
Oh, sorry, I was going to say we've also got a chat bot on our website, so that's also an easy way of getting in touch with us. It's a new feature we've got. So.
Okay, beautiful. And I've noticed your new branding as well. It looks great. So, Ros, thank you for providing that sort of valuable information to our listeners out there. I'm sure you can see the passion that Ros has for HR and the work that she does. So if you do need to speak with Ros, please check out their website at www.performhr.com.au. Please also take a few short minutes now to follow us on Facebook or Twitter or Instagram, and that'll make sure that you do get Momentum Talks each time we interview someone that can add value to our business owners. So thank you again for joining us today, Ros, and until next time, all the very best.
No problem. Thank you.